Hello, this is TAW Productions or The Animated Wolf. Today, I'm here to review a recent animated movie that just came out in theaters and what I just saw, and that is Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish. Now, this of all films is a film I didn't think I would see in theaters, but here we are. But before we get into the review, there will be spoilers. Not completely, but certain characters I will talk about, so if you haven't seen it yet, I advise you to do so before you check this film out. Anyways, allow me to give my history on the Shrek franchise. I'm a huge fan of this trilogy with the first three, and no, Shrek the Third is not canon, so shut up. I like how they tend to satirize most Disney tropes and fairy tale stories with unique characters, pretty good animation that revolutionized CG at the time, which have become the normal since 2D animation is dying since 2004, and great messages and commentary of discrimination, believing in yourself, and acceptance. In 2011, it received a following spin-off called Puss in Boots, a character introduced since Shrek 2, and although I haven't seen the first film in quite a while, I remember this movie being really good for a spin-off movie. It took 11 years to get the sequel most people wanted, leading us to this film. However, we've all been worried about this film because of DreamWorks' track record of animated movies. Ever since the failure of both Mr. Peabody and Sherman and the Penguins of Madagascar in 2014. DreamWorks has been in quite a creative slump ever since they had to close their Redwood division, and with a big write-down. Ever since then, in terms of quality, that is. The quality of their movies has been pretty inconsistent so far. Between 2015, with their only release being Home, all the way to 2020. It felt like for every one good movie, there are two weak or bad ones to follow it up with. 2021 was easily DreamWorks' worst year for movies, as both Spirit, Untamed and The Boss Baby, Family Business sucked and were some of the studio's worst movies that I almost believed they have become the next Illumination. And then, in 2022, they released a hit movie called The Bad Guys, which was fantastic and was arguably DreamWorks' big return to form after a slough of mediocrity in the last few years. But how long are they going to keep their creative streak up? After this movie, I can say that DreamWorks finally got their act up again and produced two great films in 2022. The story in this movie is very simple. After realizing that he has lost all 8 of his lives and only has one more, he wonders if he should continue or reevaluate his life and wonder if it was really worth it for him, and then, when he learns that there is a star that can grant him a wish, he tries to go and seek it. However, this movie has 4 big threats: his last life, death, Goldilocks and the 3 bears and that other guys who I will save for later. Simple plot on paper, sure. But this film has bit more to it than that. As I just said, he has 4 big threats, thus giving him an obstacle. However, he's gonna have to team up with Kitty Softpaws and a new member called Perito. What I like in this film is the strong story, as this movie helps us understand all these characters' perspectives. All of them want a wish for their own benefit, except Death and Perito. I like how well they integrate the messages of life and what it means to value it. Sometimes, living life to the fullest can be risky, and now Puss suffers the same issue we humans have, only having one life. This is a very good obstacle and transfers to what Perito's point is, as she doesn't have any desires other than be a therapy dog. She is just grateful for what she has. It also has a message of sometimes, the thing you wish F09R has been right in front of you. Which these two messages go together, because they are both about valuing what you have. It actually feels natural with the progression of each event goes. This is something we all relate to and makes every character, especially Puss, more three-dimensional and relatable. The next big praise is the animation, and holy crap balls. The animation is beyond gorgeous. You can tell between this and The Bad Guys that they clearly got inspiration from Spider-Verse, by amplifying 3D with 2D effects. This could be a turn-off considering that it abandons the realism of Shrek. But for me, it has been 11 years since the franchise ended, and ever since then, The animation at DreamWorks keeps elevating, and it has shown that they boost the color saturation, whereas Shrek was murky and kind of ugly with the color palettes. This film is more vibrant in scale and scope. To me, this style pays off here. It also helps that characters move more cartoonishly, and although some of the speed and running cycles could be improved since they are a bit too slowish moving to be convincing, for the most part. The way it's used here shows how much animation is evolving, and I like this new era of animation. And now, it's time to talk about the characters. I already talked about Puss here, but I like the development that Soft Paws goes through. Now this is where we start getting into some notable spoilers, but I'll tell you when to start skipping. Her wish is that she wanted someone to trust. This is where the teamwork in this film propels to. For starters, according to this film, she is doing this alone, and later on, she grows a gradual friendship between Puss and Perito, and they all try to work and round to and get to the last wish. Perito in this film is like Donkey, but she has her own charms, as not only does she help this film's message work through, she is just grateful with what she has and is willing to help the team out. Even in danger with the bears, she doesn't double-cross them and still has her be likable in personality. And now we get to the three big villains, and this is going to contain major spoilers, so get ready for them. First, there's Death. He's basically if you combine the big bad wolf with the Grim Reaper. Of them all, he's my favorite new character. For one thing, he is genuinely intimidating. From his whistle evoking fear both out of Puss and myself. When you see him, you only see fear in his eyes. As he's wanting to kill Puss. His reason is because knowing that Puss is in his last life, he believes Puss is just going to waste it, so he might as well kill him now, to make it easier. However, near the ending conflict, Puss decided to stand on what he believes him and fight him, and is willing to spare his life knowing that Puss learned to value it. This right here is another moral we can all learn from. You can run, but you can't hide from your problems, and why it's important to value the life that you have. He's willing to let go of those who follow that motto. Easily one of DreamWorks' best recent villains. And then there are Goldilocks and the three bears. They are the first to appear as they want some proposition with Puss. However, they also go on a hunt for the wish, and what is Goldilocks' reason? It's because she wants a real human family. This right here is a motive we can somewhat relate to. Yes, we do have a commodity of people around us that do take us in, but sometimes can't feel like if it's our real family. This right here makes her more sympathetic, but near the end, learns that her bear gang is her real family, and it feels like the most friendship was gained with them. And then we get to the biggest bad of them all, whose name shall not be said, or his motive be spelled, since this ultimately the big twist villain. But of all the things in this movie, I like this guy the least, as he just feels like your every big bad who is power hungry, and since he was barely advertised, that means I won't give him the time of day to look into. I like how all three of these villains have the right amount of screen time and how well they are integrated into the story, as they all serve different purposes under the same belt. And that was my review on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and yep. It's safe to say that DreamWorks is back to its former glory. This movie is a movie that makes me wanna wish that Shrek will come back. With a well-written story, resonating messages, revolutionary and updated animation, and characters who advance the story in a positive way and will leave a lasting impression for a long time to come. This is definitely a must-watch, that is, if you haven't seen my spoilers. Overall, I'm giving this movie a 9.5 out of 10. This is TAW Productions, signing off, and have a good night.